Awesome. Hello and welcome to Zenful Conversations, the raw, the real, the unedited, the unscripted, the fun, the vulnerable. I really am enjoying these more comfortable, more relaxed conversations. So welcome. Thanks for joining us. We have my good friend. I like to say that. Celeste, and would you pronounce your last name so I get
Sure,
it
it's
proper?
it's Boudreaux. It's got
Boudreaux.
way too many letters for what it sounds like.
Well, my name's Brown, Jen Brown. I mean, it's anything is complicated after that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, one, I want to thank you so much for saying yes and for just having conversation. Um,
No, thank you so much for having me.
what I am finding interesting is the amount of will you be sending me notes to to review ahead of time? And no.
Yeah.
Here I am with that blue screen again. I don't know how come. There we go, whatever.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, so we don't really what I have, my love, is a book that you wrote,
Mhm.
and I don't even know, is this your first book?
It is. It is.
It is your first book. Well, congratulations on that. And honestly, I would think that that takes a lot of to publish or not to publish. There's a lot of conversation I would think that would go on inside me, whether or not to do it, to not do it. So I wouldn't mind if we touch base on why you decided to actually go for
Yeah.
it and publish. But it says it's a novel.
It is.
And so I'm just going to jump right in. Sherry and the Butterfly Lady is the title of the novel by Celeste
Boudreaux.
Boudreaux,
Mhm.
Boudreaux. I need to write that down. Boudreaux, Boudreaux. And for those that cannot see and that are just listening in, Sherry and the Butterfly Lady. So, can you tell us who Sherry is, or do you want to say something else before you get started on your book? I just want to understand what was in you so important to decide to put it in a book and share it with the world.
Sure. Well, Sherry is a 9-year-old girl who's in an abusive and neglectful home, very dysfunctional. And she kind of escapes from her daily reality by visiting this mysterious old woman who has shown up in this abandoned forest cottage near where she lives. And they become friends and they agree to start exchanging fairy tales. So they one day the little girl will tell an original fairy tale, and the next day the butterfly lady, whose name is Miss Mary, will respond with her own fairy tale. And it becomes like a conversation between them. The little girl's stories tend to reflect her own bleak reality. Uh, but the old woman is, through the stories and through kind of enfolding Sherry into her everyday life and the things that she enjoys, she's kind of drawing her into uh, beauty, nature, um, hope, and love.
Mm.
And it's the story of the little girl's healing. Now, I just retired about a year and a half ago, and so I've had ideas for this story that I have just been throwing into a document for like 15 years. So I kind of decided that once I retired, that would be the time to work on writing it. Um, so because I had been thinking about it and mulling it around for a long time, the writing of it went pretty fast, actually. And at first, I thought I would just self-publish it, and that maybe it would just be for me and my family and a few friends. I tend to be very, I tend to want to be uh, cautious and maybe more on the pessimistic rather than the optimistic side so that I won't be disappointed. So I started out with a really modest ambition. And then while I was writing it, or after I'd finished writing it, my spiritual director, who gets me in a lot of trouble, uh, she suggested that I submit it to She Writes Press, which I said, well, what can I hurt? So I did submit it to that one place, and they accepted it. And
Wow, meant to be.
yeah,
Meant to be. That She Writes Press. Is that with Brooke Warner?
yes, it is.
Ah,
Yeah. And yeah, so anyway, that was how that got started.
wonderful. Wonderful. Uh, so you have had a writing practice then throughout your life?
Yes, I've always been a journaler, um, and poetry off and on. And then in the past few years, I've had a poetry blog. Yeah, I hadn't really written too much fiction until now.
Yeah, the whole fairy tale subject
Hmm.
is quite foreign to me. And being that I have only really turned towards this field of writing as a means to move energy and uh, express, because I'm like, I'm trying to tune into this fairy tale and I can't seem to even locate any remnants of what might seem like fairy tale-ish, other than, let me see if this light helps, other than um, when I'm in my yard and singing with the birds and stuff like that makes me almost feel a little bit like Snow White on some level there. But even when I was a kid, I was more in the dirt and in the trees and things like that. Uh, so I find it very interesting, the imagination, the creativity. It's very interesting to me. It's very interesting to me. And apparently it's interesting to others because we do have a workshop coming up and there's already like 5 or 6 people signed up for that. And there hasn't been like much push on it. Sorry about this lighting. I don't know what the heck. Um, what do you got to say about fairy tales and just in the whole gamut of it all?
Yeah, sure. I mean, sometimes people ask, how did I come up with that idea to weave fairy tales into the story? And the simple answer is that the very first idea that I got for this book was just a fanciful thing that came into my head one day. I had started collecting like crystals, like I see one hanging from your thing, where if you hung it in the
Yeah.
window where it got direct sunlight, it would probably cast little rainbows into the room, right? So I started doing that, and I just got this idea one day that each of those little rainbows kind of bouncing around the room or the car was a fairy in its daylight form. Uh, and that thought just made me happy. And I
Ah,
thought about, okay, so a backstory could be that originally there was a big rainbow and somehow it got smashed and shattered, and all the little pieces of rainbow became these little fairies. And that's how fairies were born. That was the original idea, that there was no way to work that into a story without having stories within stories. I didn't want to write just a whole fantasy. Um, but so anyway, that's how that got started. But about fairy tales, it's all about using symbolism for real things. I have a story in the book about where the character of Sherry, the little girl, her representative character is a mouse because she's shy and she's quiet and she hides. And she is given the traditional three wishes by a fairy. So the first wish, because she has this long, sensitive tail that people keep stepping on, the other animals. And that's like, right, her sensitive nature, where
Yeah.
she always gets her feelings hurt, right?
Right. Right.
That's the real life interpretation. So the first thing she wishes for is to be made big because she feels like the problem is she's too small. So she wants to be able to look a chicken in the eye. So poof, she gets that wish, and then she realizes that creates other problems.
Mm.
She can't hide anymore, and her tail is 10 times longer, so everybody's just stepping on it even more. And so then she claims her second wish, which is to be able to carry some armor with her and be able to withdraw into it anytime, like a turtle. So poof, she becomes a turtle. And at first she loves that. That's very convenient. Whenever she feels threatened or in danger, she just pulls inside her shell and she's safe. But she also becomes isolated because us when we go towards the shyness, right, and go towards the withdrawal from people,
Hmm.
it
Hmm.
becomes very lonely. And so her final wish is for a friend. And that turns out to be a very good wish because the fairy queen offers to be her friend. And then that becomes a recurring um, fairy tale characters in the book.
That is lovely.
But I'm just saying that, it's real life stuff. And it's just finding symbols and archetypes that express it in a different way.
Right. Right. Since you've retired, what what brings you peace? What brings you peace? How does your writing fit into that? And what are you working on now that you've already produced this book? Because I would imagine this had to be healing on many levels and
Yeah.
changes us once we are able to release something, and then it just changes into a whole different form. Uh, so I'm just wondering where you are now and what your days look like now.
Yeah. Well, in addition to the writing, um, I'm also myself a spiritual director, so I offer that to other people. I also offer internal family systems to others. I lead a bunch of groups, mostly women's groups. And so I have it all kind of revolves around the same thing of healing and connection. And the monthly soul collage group that I lead, soul collage really ties in. It ties in with internal family systems, which is all about parts of yourself. And in soul collage, you are depicting visually parts of yourself and uses a lot of symbols and visual images that represent other things. So it all kind of ties together. Um, I mean, for myself, for my peace and stuff, I practice meditation and
Mm.
um, just different things. I'm kind of a spiritual adventurer, where I'm always kind of poking the edges and trying new things. And
That's kind of how I feel too, really. And
yeah,
yeah, it all is revolved around that healing, all these practices I do. One is it's part of my practice.
Hmm.
Part of my writing practice is having these conversations. Part of my writing practice, or part of any practice that I do, it's also part of my accountability,
Mm.
and it keeps me totally in it. But it's all wrapped around that healing. I have done soul collage before, and I think it is definitely awesome. And I'm super surprised I haven't shown up yet at one of your offerings because
Me
they are
too.
virtual. They're virtual. I mean, there's absolutely no reason. And so I need to make sure it's in my calendar because that's where it'll happen if it's in my calendar.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I
no,
definitely see the value in that soul collage. I love it.
yeah. For people that may not be familiar with it, it's got kind of got two parts to it. First, you put together intuitively this collage, and then the second part is that you give it a voice and you let it speak back to you. So I'll show you an example. So here's my good little girl. And see, like her closet is so immaculate and so, it's like unnaturally neat. So that's her standard that she's supposed to live up to. These are the critical old ladies that are keep enforcing the perfectionism. And this is just
Mhm.
a kind of bleak background and barbed wire going across the front.
Mm,
So this is my good little girl. And so she would speak back to me and say something like, I am one who believes that she has to be perfect all the time and in every way. Um, and what I give to you is uh, an advantage in the work world because of my work ethic and um,
mm,
yeah, conscientiousness. And what I need from you is permission to play.
mm.
That's just a brief example of the soul collage method. And I tell you, I can't overstate how much I used soul collage in the writing of this book, even though I don't refer to it directly in the book. Um, Number one, because I've practiced soul collage for about five, maybe 6 years. Um, and I've dug deep with it. You know, it has, I like being introspective and, in the first place.
Right.
But
This really digs into your subconscious mind, right?
yes, yes. And it helped express things that had just been buried, really buried. And so I've come to know myself and come to get in touch with the feelings of things that I experienced, especially in childhood. And since then, I saw where the root was. Oh, that's why I'm this way, you know.
Hmm.
And so I
Hmm.
tried to, when I wrote the book, I wanted it to be true to my feelings. And so when I was writing the book, I actually went away on a 2 week personal retreat by myself to work on the first draft. And so I took a bunch of my soul collage cards that I knew related to things in the book, and I strung them up. I had like 40 of them that were related to the book that I strung up on the wall of the room where I was writing so that
Wow.
I would be true to them,
Wow.
so that I would look back when I'm writing something that's related to how this little girl felt or the hope that Miss Mary was bringing and write from the feeling of those cards. Um,
Wow.
so I really think that that's one reason why when a lot of people read my book, they say, "Wow, how did you make it feel so real?" So it's got the fairy tales on the one hand and the real feelings, the real reality on the
Right.
other hand, and it kind of puts them both together.
Do you intend on writing another book?
I would like to. I'll have two answers to that. One is that I'm enjoying writing and I would like to write another one. I have an idea for another novel that would have something to do with inherited generational trauma and, things that get passed down. And sometimes the people in the lower generations don't understand why, because not the stories don't necessarily get passed down,
Yes,
especially
correct.
when you have family secrets,
Yeah, right.
which we know all about in my family.
Yeah, same here. There's so much. I have no
Hmm.
idea.
Yeah,
And there's little tiny a splash of a memory here, and it's like, wow, wonder what all that, I have no idea about a lot of things, but I also have nobody really left that I could even chat with about it.
yeah, and that makes it feel lonely. I've actually
Uh,
been doing some ancestor work, kind of visiting ancestors in my imagination.
Yeah, I'm going to say that I've been feeling that so strong lately, the ancestors, and like most powerful I've ever felt it. And so it's funny that you should bring that up. I didn't really even realize there was something called that, but of course there is probably a whole avenue you could go down with that.
Yeah, yeah, there is. But the other thing I wanted to say is that I actually am working on another book. It's just a workbook to go along with Sherry and the Butterfly Lady.
Oh, I like that idea.
Yeah, because it's okay. So after I launched the book, immediately got together some people here locally who wanted to do a book discussion group, just 6 weeks. I prepared the questions and we did some like exercises and added some poems that I'd written. This is a little mock up of it, but it's beyond just your normal book club where you're talking about plot and characters and it's all up here.
Mm-hmm.
This is more experiential. In other words, you're taking, for instance, Sherry's experiences and applying them to your own childhood. Uh,
Mm.
do I have anything that's relevant to this? What was my family like, and that's so forth. So anyway, I've written the first draft of this workbook, and it could be used by bibliotherapists. And I'm talking to some bibliotherapists who might give me some advice and maybe write review or something. And then it could also be used in any kind of group, like a women's group that has a supportive ethos already, and
Right.
or it could be individually journaling. You could work your way through it. And I think this workbook, I think anybody can enjoy the book pretty much. The guys who like the sports cars may not get as much out of it, but with the workbook, the people who are going to really get the most out of it are people who have come from dysfunctional childhoods in one way or another.
And to work through it instead of avoid it.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah. As
eventually
far as
this stuff pops up. To me, I don't think we have a choice but to try to work through it at some point.
yeah,
At some point, whether we initiate it or something initiates it.
yeah. And
Yeah,
reading the book itself could bring up issues for some people.
yeah, well, we're all loaded. Um, well, that's interesting. And so I love that workbook. But I just want the other one you said would even be perhaps another novel. Why not a poetry book collection? Why have you not done a poetry collection? Because I've listened to some of your work, which is great.
I could. I mean, I have that as a possibility.
I'm not sure I'm even interested in doing a book at all. So I'm not why not feeling don't want you to feel like I'm saying you need to write a book. So I'm not sure why that's even coming out of my mouth. I just find it fascinating as why people decide to share it and why some don't. It's so vulnerable, last, and then the other people in the family or circumstances, it, uh, how does everybody feel about everything? That's a
Yes.
consideration, a real, very real consideration.
Yeah, actually, that's one reason why I did the novel as a novel rather than as a memoir.
Ah,
The facts of Sherry's life are not the same as mine, but the feelings and and I can throw in little scenes that are based on reality.
mm,
Uh,
hmm.
when my brothers and sisters read the book, they went, "Oh, I recognize this or that." But
That's great.
that's one reason to do it that way.
I met you through mutual friend of ours, Julia Fehrenbacher, and uh, actually miss you guys. I miss seeing you because we were seeing each other for a while there regularly, and I was hearing a lot of your words then. Um, so I want you to know that I actually do miss you. But we will be doing a workshop together, and um, is based on this book more or
Yeah,
less.
well, yes, I could read a short fairy tale from out of the book as an example for the workshop, but it is basically just writing your own fairy tale for your own life.
That sounds so very interesting, very different than anything I've done before. And what I'm really realizing is how far down my voice is. I
What do you
can't
mean?
find it yet. Uh, I just think that it's going to take even a bit, because like I did not write a book to help me process a lot of stuff, but I did take the route of going through yoga and um, not only just yoga, but it's therapist. It was this internationally certified yoga therapist, which is the most incredible thing that I've ever done in my life. um, years and in the making, and a lot of incredible work. But I think to tap into play, I'm realizing that it's pretty darn deep. That okay, well, this has been a decade, over a decade here now, and like I'm struggling with the creativity of the fairy tale. It's like, how do I even tap into it? Because when we were talking about the workshop, and I'm seeing this really because I know that there's got to be other people that may resonate on some level. Um, we're talking about the workshop, and I'm like, well, I don't know how to create a fairy tale. I haven't the freaking slightest idea where to even start with that. And that just got me thinking that, sometimes we realize, wow, I've come so far. And then sometimes we realize, wow, I've got a long way to go to, a lot of things were buried. And this
Yeah,
would probably be very healthy for me to go back into the childhood because while had the most beautiful, loving family that I think and gave me so much love that I love the love that I have because of them. There's a lot there. There
yeah.
is a lot there. And this
And you're
probably,
and you're your fairy tale doesn't have to be a sad one.
No, it's not going to be. Bet your sweet butt it's not going to be.
Right. It's a happy ever after one.
Mine is going to be happy, and it is happy. It is
Yeah,
a happy ever after.
there
Quite
you go.
frankly, to be real about it, I've got a little baby white poodle that helps me write poetry. How much more fairy
Yeah,
tale can you get than that?
there you go.
Mm. But I suspect it's going to bring me to some places that I totally forgot about that need to be
Yeah, could
looked
happen.
at, peeked at,
But
peeked
but
at.
I bet you that anybody who thinks they can't write a fairy tale will be surprised.
Oh yeah. Well, I just think like it's probably, like I was surprised even doing any of the writing, like any of it. It's surprising how much comes out and how cool it is. It's just giving yourself space
Yeah,
and time and putting your mindset there.
yeah. It's like the soul collage. That blew your mind, right?
Yeah, I like to soul collage a lot.
Hmm.
I've been doing it for a couple years. That was part of that whole yoga gamut. I say
Yeah,
yoga, but it was a lot of different various healing, modalities and
yeah.
including the sound bowls and crystals and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So what made you say yes to this conversation and what is it that you would like to say to anybody listening?
Well, I said yes because I love you, ZenJen,
No.
and I miss you too. But can I address a question that I get sometimes?
Sure, you could say whatever you want.
Sometimes people ask me, or I would wonder it myself. Whenever I read a book that is like historical fiction or based on, inspired by this true story, I want to know what was the real and what was the fiction part of it. So sometimes people ask, what was your inspiration? How much of this is you? And so, for instance, with Sherry, she is her personality and stuff is almost 100% me when I was a girl. She's very shy and, like she hides a lot socially. And even within the family, she tends to keep to herself. She likes her little attic bedroom because nobody ever comes up there and she can just read her books and stay away from the chaos and loudness of the rest of the busy house, at least when her siblings were at home. And like I said, a lot of her wounds are wounds that I had, like the feeling of abandonment and feeling of being invisible. That's the downside of hiding, but also being attracted to nature. And Sherry always goes out in the woods to play. And actually, my grandmother had a house in the woods of East Texas when I was growing up, and we would spend summers there. And that was the inspiration for this forest here,
Mm,
which is almost a character in itself in the story. Um, and then Miss Mary is not me, but the kinds of things that she likes and enjoys are things that I like and enjoy. For instance, she's a butterfly gardener, and I'm a butterfly gardener, and I'm a little bit obsessed with butterflies. So I have been called the butterfly lady before.
mhm.
Um, so anyway, there's a lot of me in this book, even though, like I said, the uh, facts of her childhood and my childhood are not the same. I was number 4 out of 6 kids, but she's number 5 out of 5 kids. So she's the youngest one, with like a 6-year gap between her and the next older brother. And so the older kids, because the father is abusive, the older kids, one by one, have finding excuses to, exit the nest as fast as they can, to where now the mother has passed away. So now she's the only one left to deal with her dad, by herself. And so, yeah.
And did that happen that way?
No, my parents got divorced when I was 4 years old, and my mom took the 6 kids back from Wyoming back down to Texas, to Beaumont, Texas, which is 2 hours east of Houston, which is where I live in Houston now. So she brought the kids back to live with her parents, and I never saw or knew my dad much after that, after I was 4 years old. I know about him more by stories from the older kids and stuff like that. And he was an alcoholic, and he was abusive, to some extent, at least. So that's different. But I think that the character of the father in the book is like a combination of my actual father and my grandmother, who became the head of our house once we moved down to her house. She was the very stern, strict, unaffectionate, unsmiling matriarch of the family who controlled everything. And my mother was sweet, but ineffectual, and she really she couldn't function as an adult in the world. She was mentally ill, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
I'm impressed how you took this and made a whole fairy tale out of it. It just intrigues me, this whole fairy tale thing. Apparently, I'm hung up on it. I think it's neat that you put that type of spin on it. I just think it's really very, very neat.
Well, I
What other
did.
kind of, go ahead.
I was going to say I did immerse myself in fairy tales. This was my version of research for this book. Was I got like maybe a dozen different collections of fairy tales, and just read them cover to cover, so that I was kind of immersed in the genre and seeing all the different variations. Some of the Grimm tales are really horrifying. They're not
Yeah.
they're not the Disney versions by any stretch.
Yeah, because it seems like there's because that's a whole added extra thing though, this whole fairy tale part of it instead of just going into stories. I don't know. I've yet to read it through your book, and I need to go back and do that. In fact, I still have this warning, do not open.
Yeah.
Says until you have finished reading Sherry and the Butterfly Lady, top secret little envelope. And obviously I didn't finish it yet because I haven't opened that yet.
Okay.
Um, but I like how you really explained the story very well today, and I appreciate that. Yeah, so abandonment and these things. So really, you're working through, and this is a book that can really be used to work through trauma.
Yes. Yes, I think it does raise a lot of people's uh, wounds. I do think there's a lot of healing. I'm anxious for you to finish the book because the
Yes.
end, I think, is surprising and surprisingly healing, and will really speak to people who have been treating themselves like their parents treated them.
Right.
You
Well,
know?
see, our parents didn't know a lot of times. I mean, none of us, I don't think any of us are going to get out of childhood without something. I really believe that to be true. Um, and honestly, I don't think I was aware of what my parents were dealing with from their own lives. Uh, and then even to try to even, I mean, they don't know themselves. They don't know themselves. So I'm going to say that even if there is a bit of abandonment, what I mean by that, let's say I was I was born, I never met my birth father, or I don't recall it. I mean, I'm adopted. And so the first year, I don't know exactly how long I was with him, but I don't remember him at all. But I don't think this bothers me. But I'm going to say that it probably is in there somewhere, this feeling of abandonment, whether or not we think it even affects us.
Yeah, that's very possible. But I thought of a more universal example that even people from happy childhoods would probably be able to identify with. And it's not to blame parents in general, because none of us are perfect parents if we are parents. But you know how when you were a kid and you want to get your parents' attention, and they're going, and of course kids can't have their parents' undivided attention all the time. But kids tend to get shooed away and quieted and hush and go watch TV and just dismissed, right? And just that feeling of being dismissed is one of those things that I needed some healing from, you know?
Hmm.
And what I turned around and practiced on myself.
Hmm.
I was always pushing myself, like Brene Brown talks about, hustling for your worthiness. I had to always be work, 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 and be perfect at everything I did. And if I got tired, forget, too bad. Do it anyway. If I got bored, if I got, whatever, I just kept going. And so I had to realize that I was treating myself the way I had been treated. And I needed
Yeah,
to
how about
stop
that?
doing that. I needed to start practicing self-compassion.
Yeah, I can resonate. But I think a lot of this, to me anyway, um, is coming with age. And I'm absolutely loving that, because I've always thought that the other people might have been right, or okay, well, no, they're right, not me. You know what I mean? But I've tried it their way my whole life, and here I am now, 61 now. Oh, wait a minute. I was right all along. So let me back up to what, 5 years old?
Oh, yeah, as far back as you need to. I backed
Is
up to in the womb was the last time I felt safe.
See, so this is probably, you know, oh boy, I don't know if there's an end to the conversation. Um, really, because you're probably always unveiling different different things, different sections of your mind. I'm not sure exactly what it is, your layers of memory. What exactly are we, how would you describe it as this constant unfolding?
Yeah, I mean, in IFS, internal family systems speak, it's the different parts of yourself, the wounded children in all their different ages and whatever their trauma was, and the protector parts that have helped to take care of all those wounds and try to stave off, danger and um, so yeah, and in that model, instead of the layers of an onion, it talks about garlic cloves, and they tend to clump together in little families, but there's multiple of them, all having relationships with each other, protecting and anyway, it's a whole thing,
Right,
and it's
right.
it's the it's the job of a lifetime.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that's
Well,
not to say
go ahead.
But that's not to say that you can't be helping other people as you're continuing on your own journey.
Oh, no, I think that's the best way to do it
Yeah.
because it's real. You're
Hmm.
all trying to figure it out. But it's pretty neat when you can recognize, oh my gosh, that's where be feeling unworthy started. And you
Yes.
see it clear as day. And then
100%.
all of a sudden, you feel really worthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of a sudden it's like gone.
Hmm.
And I'm sure it pop up every once in a while, but it's to me been pretty. I'm loving this healing journey because that's how it goes for me. Because I've immersed myself in it 100%, and that's why I'm in the whole writing field now. Because in the therapist certification, uh, writing came up again and again, and even Ginny East, who is it was her program that she had developed. Which she is an amazing woman. Um, she just a manifester, a powerhouse. There was a new field of yoga therapy, and it's because of the opioid crisis. They're allowing a couple alternate healing therapies to work with the doctors in a hospital to help this crisis. And yoga therapy is one of those. And so it's a rather new field, only probably, well, I don't know, maybe it's 3 or 4, maybe 4 years old now, but at the time it was only 2 years old. And at the time, she was one of 66, 68 schools worldwide that had this accreditation through the International Association. And she she is so hot and heavy on writing to she's a writer.
Yeah.
She's a writer.
Yeah.
Um, And I've actually ventured, she has some online classes that I first started with, and it was memoir writing. And I'm like, it was just way too heavy for me. I'm like, there ain't no way, I can't even, no way. I don't even know where to start with all of that. And then I stumbled into the poetry, and that's so much easier for me to swallow, explore what's coming out, mostly the wild writing type thing, because I'm exploring what comes out. And I think it's fascinating every time. And what's even more fascinating is how somebody can hear the same prompt, and the
Yeah.
variety that comes from that is just amazing. But to go deep, I would like your workshop, your workbook.
Yeah. The bibliotherapy, I didn't know that was a thing as far as
What
therapists
exactly
actually
is that?
offering it.
A bib-
Well, it would be in the context of psychotherapy,
Mhm.
and the therapist might read a poem or assign a book for the person to read on their own, and then come back together and discuss, kind of apply it to their lives and their feelings, and um, use it as a vehicle for self-exploration.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really something. Well, in all of the, you know, all of the modalities, no, I mean, it was a healing modality in all of the whatever they were working for. If it was for cancer recovery, heart recovery, mental anxiety, any of it, we need to start by recognizing your thoughts, writing your thoughts down, and taking a look at them. And that's really, and I'm like, well, goodness. Okay, if it's across the board for all of the ailments or whatever it is we're trying to recover from or working with or accepting or whatever it may be, then I just need to put that into my daily life, you know? And the same thing with getting out in nature is one of them that's across the board too.
100%. Yeah.
There's a few of them that are across the board, and it's like, all right, I'll take
Yeah.
these 5 things and I'm gonna hit the road with them now.
Yeah. No, nature, creativity, physical movement,
The movement.
focusing on your body. Yeah, those are key.
Yeah, noticing and being present, man.
Yes,
And
yes.
it's so simple, really. But you know, our lives are so busy, Celeste. You see what kind of nuts craziness that is going on in our society. How in the world do people stop the craziness to even give themselves 10 minutes?
Yeah.
I mean,
But but all the more important to do it. Not only for our own sanity, but I do believe there's this kind of web that we're all sitting on our little intersection of, and vibration over here gets somehow spread out through the whole. I believe that more and more.
that's all I can do. For me, that's what I think too. The only thing, the best thing I can do is bring more love out and in. And
Yes,
that's what we're doing with these conversations as well.
yes.
I'm banking on whatever we send out into the universe comes back.
Mm.
I mean, I really believe that and I live by that. And um, sometimes I question that, especially as of late, past couple years probably. Because some things, especially with the world, I'm like, okay, well, when is this gonna, okay, I believe this, but seriously, let's snap this.
We always want spring to come like this when we snap our fingers. It takes a
Oh my
while.
goodness. Mm. But I do notice as we get older, we seem to give ourselves more permission to pay more attention to ourselves, I suppose, is, I don't know. I just see, doing these workshops and retreats for women because like I said, like all of it is, I got into this for my own healing. I just went that way to learn about how to help myself because I did not um take care of myself. I did not express any emotions. It was in my body and it was just, I kept piling it in and it just got to be too much and it just blew up. And so that was physically and mentally. So in the advanced yoga teacher training, when I was taking that, you had to produce a workshop and show that you could do it. You can't be an advanced instructor and not know how to do a workshop. So I learned all the ins and outs of that, and I really liked it. And I came up with these like healing her, and she let go, and these were women. These were workshops for women. And what I found interesting was how many women let themselves get so far down that they didn't even hardly have a light left. Um, but how overworked, and now the ages come in here. So like, 35 to 50, it's like there's just no time. And some of the women are dealing both the parents and the kids.
Yep. No, that's a very common pattern. A lot of times women or girls are practicing creativity and stuff when they're little, right? And then come those busy middle years, and everything. It takes a lot of energy to become an adult, to establish a career, to find love, to maybe have a family. I mean, that takes an enormous amount of time and energy. And God bless us all who have to do that. Then you come to a time in your life when, uh, for one thing, for me, is because I had pushed myself way too hard for way too long, and I drove myself into the ground. I drove myself into a health crisis. And that health crisis became a spiritual crisis. And I got desperate. So I started trying everything. I did therapy and medication and acupuncture and anything anybody suggested to me. And that was the beginning of my journey of learning contemplative practices and all the stuff that has led up to today, all the stuff that I love, which is its own forms of play, a lot of it. And getting back to the things that you kind of enjoyed as a kid. Um, but it's very healing, and it has that element of wisdom. But it's as we're working on ourselves and we're offering to others what we're learning, uh, it's just a back and forth, and one supports the other.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely, for sure. And I think just for those people, men and women that are carrying a lot, even if we could just stop for a few breaths, tune
Mm-hmm.
in, because
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in getting that little baby time slot.
Yeah.
Once we get that baby time slot, it can grow.
Yeah.
That's really a start. Just start with that. It's
Yeah.
okay if it's only 5 minutes, but commit to that 5 minutes and let it do its magic.
Yeah, that's good. Now, I should correct myself, not that I'm not telling people to wait till they retire or hit menopause or whatever, to start this journey.
Oh
But
no, because if
yeah,
they do, it'll end up manifesting in some other fashion.
well,
I, you
Exhibit
know,
A,
Yeah, I know. It's exactly me too. It's like, oh my God, just you keep layering on stress after stress after stress. And I also had this stress of drinking. I overstimulated in every way I possibly could, probably, you know. Because yeah, I gained some back, but I did lose almost 100 pounds
Oh wow,
originally on this whole little but you find that self-love, and that's really the beginning of it all, is when you love yourself and you
yeah,
find yourself love there.
yeah, and get
uh
yourself in a community where everybody's just lathering each other with love.
it's true. The world events of the past year or so, you think, okay, well, what can I do? And I think, thank God I have community with like-minded people.
Hmm.
If I didn't have this community with like-minded people, you wouldn't have anybody to talk to about this kind of stuff or any of it. And
Yeah,
to me, this is a real good cleansing space because everybody is safe here.
yeah,
It's safe here. Now we're going to put this out on YouTube and podcast, so it's a little bit different, but it's important to share. It's important to share this stuff. What would you like to? I don't want you to get off and say, "Oh, I wish I had said this." What is it that you'd like to say, or any closing remarks or anything?
Yeah, no, I'm just happy to be part of this and to just encourage people not to be alone. Don't just let yourself be a lone ranger trying to cope with everything in isolation. Um, Even the internet is it can it can be a source of community, but it can also be a real source of dysfunction and whatever. So care for yourself and get in a group where you're caring for others and being cared for.
That is perfect. That is perfect. If anybody wanted to get in touch with you, do you have a website or some kind of connection
Yeah.
opportunity?
Yes. If my author website is celesteboudreau.com. Of course, you'd have to be able to spell Boudreau. but but then I also have a like my professional website is www.luminous-heart.com. So and you can submit a comment card to get personal in touch with me.
Awesome. I like that.
And I have luminous-heart.com
Luminous-heart.com.
and then celesteboudreau.com. And on my author website, I have a monthly poetry blog that you can sign up. Oh, and if you're interested in the workbook, also, I'll probably start at least one, maybe more, Zoom groups to do the 6 week
Oh,
working through the workbook.
I think that'd
Uh,
be wonderful.
and it'll probably be in the fall before all this gets going. But if
Hmm.
you want to be notified when that is coming, then you can get on my poetry blog mailing list, which you can get on my uh, www.celesteboudreau.com.
All right, awesome. That's B as in boy, OUD as in dog, REAUX.
Thank you. That's right.
Celeste, BOUDREAUX.com, right?
That's right.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciated this. I loved this conversation.
Thank you. Me
Uh,
too.
I really enjoyed it. It expanded my mind quite a bit there. So that lets me know that it will for somebody else as well.
Great.
And I really
Oh,
appreciate you mentioning the importance of community
yes. And one
and definitely go ahead.
this is on Amazon, just to mention.
The Sherry and the Butterfly Lady
Mhm.
is on Amazon. Yeah, it is on Amazon. And I'll put your website in the on YouTube anyway. I don't think I could do it on the podcast. I just hit the podcast by itself. But the YouTube, it'll have your web address in the description down below. Um, but yeah, and I would imagine they could also get information on that soul collage stuff if they were
Yes,
interested.
on the Luminous Heart thing, I have a monthly collage, a soul collage group, and some people are in person and some people are on Zoom. But yeah,
I see, cool. I see,
mhm.
awesome. Thank you for for shedding the light on and raising awareness on our known and unknown traumas and for having it be in a playful way, um, and maybe approachable even. make it maybe a little bit more approachable to some. Uh, um, just getting to know myself here on a deeper level, and I might be to the some. I might be that some. But yeah, it feels softer, a softer entry into trauma by,
Mm.
I mean, with the butterfly lady, how can you go wrong? And it's interesting because I do a meditation with the butterfly lady. Celeste, thank you. Thank you so
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you, ZenJen.
And true and deep gratitude. Thanks so much for listening. Please visit zenfulconversations.com and check out the offerings we have going on during the Summer of Love poetry series. There are many, many free workshops, and Celeste will be doing one. We'll be doing one together uh, towards the end of August, I believe it is. But there's lots of them. Anyway, thanks so much. Stay well. Namaste.
Bye.
Namaste.